Alright, hi everyone. Now what I want to show you in this quick clip is just how to find fish or how to locate fish when you're looking in a new section of river. So for me, I'm going to do some exploring of the upper Maribyrnong River over the next couple of days, but what I'm just going to do in this is just show you how to locate some fish, which is really important for people trying to find new zones that they want to go and check out. So for me personally, I fish a lot of the Maribyrnong River down through a lot of the lower stretches in through here, up around Edgewater, always fishes really well through all this, under all the bridges, but this is about as far as I normally fish, up around this corner, around where Riverside Park is here. There's like a bit of a walk track over there, so that's about to the extent that I've travelled on the river itself. So for you to find fish on a new waterway, one of the key things to do, and a key resource, is for you to use Google Maps, so this here. But there's a trick. If you go to the little eye up the top for information, it'll pop up a screen that looks like this. If you go to satellite, it'll pull up a satellite image. Now, I'm sure most of you know how to do that, but for you that don't, that is a really, really key step, because now it allows me to zoom in on spots, okay, and I can see exactly what the bank makeup of it is like. Okay, so this allows me to really zoom in, check out what's around these creeks that are coming in and out of certain places. And for me this weekend, I'm just going to be going and launching at Canning Reserve, which is like right up the top of the Maribyrnong. Fair chance that the majority of it's probably going to be fresh. That little dot down there is probably Dale Baxter out in his kayak. But let's have a bit of a look. So I'm going to drop off this jetty here, and I'm going to pedal upriver. So almost straight away I know that there's a couple of things. I can see that right near this bridge here, okay, that all of this bank, all through here, is in shade. So shade is critical, really, really key role in holding fish, especially when the sun gets up in the middle of the day. So you can see there's a big shadow patch right near this bridge, and don't overlook shadows, because they are a great way of providing fish an extra sort of area of cover. So straight away I can see that there's some shadows in this corner here. There's a nice big bridge. Now we've got these nice straight sections, so we can see that they're lined with trees. Now on the left hand side here we can see that there's a couple of bigger trees which are overhanging. Overhanging trees always mean that they're dropping limbs into the water, so there's going to be some structure in there, no worries at all. There's a little cutaway bay in here. You can see just along the edge of it, if you look really carefully, there's a nice big shadow line, but there's also like a little flat in there as well. You can see right on the edge. Let's keep exploring and see what else we can see. So as I go along, there's plenty more big trees hanging over the water. There's a row of 1, 2, 3, 4 of them. That looks like it's almost, that looks like it's almost a snag in there as well. And a little few bits and pieces, nice inconsistent banks over here. That looks like it's all reed bank on the bottom side of the map there. And as we scroll up, there's another bridge there, so some more structure and some more overhanging trees. So before I'm going into this, I already know what sort of structure I'm going to be fishing. Now most of this looks relatively flat. Hey, check that out. What's that? Looks like it might be some sort of flat in the middle of the river, maybe some sort of rocky reef. We'll check that out for sure. Another nice snag looking thing in the water there. So Google Maps plays a key role in helping to locate some new fish on a new waterway. So before you get out on the water, when you go to fish some new water, check out Google Maps, because it's an awesome little resource to help you scroll around and find a few fish or some fishy areas. That's really going to narrow down your search when you get on the water. All right, follow along. Let's jump in, see if we can catch a few. Still a fish. Go to him. There we go. Bit of brim juice. Damn it. Alright, so a quick midday update. Still on the one fish, but I've dropped about 5. 2 on a grub up on the edge that have just clunked it and like ripped the jig head out, even though it's been glued in. Just fishing it weedless, so it's like pulled the tail off. And I've dropped 3 on a crab as well. They've all hooked up, all swam off, but the hooks just haven't stuck for some reason. But anyway, this is it's beautiful country up here. Really surprised with the amount of bird life and stuff. It's really healthy, even though the water's dirty. A lot of bait and stuff still skipping around. It's a beautiful place to fish. So anybody that knows bream know that they love a couple of things. They love this shade. So we've got some nice overhanging trees on this bank, which provides that bit of shade. They love a bit of timber, and there's also some big chunk rock through here as well. So I'm just drifting down these banks. Normally on high tide, you can see the high tide marks halfway up this bank. So most of this would be covered at high tide. So it's a good way, even though low tide isn't as productive, it's a really good way to scope out an area. That's what I like about low tide and going fishing on low tide. I find fishing on high tide can be really productive and you'll catch a lot of fish, but you can maximize your time during high tide by understanding how the banks look, how they set up, knowing what to throw into them, and it's always a good way to challenge yourself as well, trying to figure out where the fish are when they're not tucked up against this structure like this, where they drop off to. So that's what we're doing now. Little fella.
on the weedless grub, just running him through a few rocks. Tell you what, it's been a grind this afternoon to get the bites. Sun's come up, it's warmed up, which is nice. Just standing up, cruising down an edge that I haven't fished before. Just throwing grubs in. Just got them rigged weedless so I can get in amongst the rocks a bit better. That's the result. Just a little fella, but anyway, a bit of fun. Let him go.
Alright, now I hope you guys enjoyed the session today. Now for me, it was an exploration day, going to check out some waters that I'd never fished before, doing a bit of exploring, seeing what was around, what sort of structure I could find and all those sorts of things. Now we had 30 mils of rain last week, last Saturday, so it's only been a week, and there was no salt in that system, or in the river at all today. The water was pure fresh. If you tasted it, there was no salt in it at all. The sounder picked up no salt at all until I pedaled way down river, right towards the end of the day, and just in one of the deeper 4-meter holes, there was just a salt line running across, like in the bottom 2 foot of that 4-meter hole. So there was no salt up there at all, but still really good to see that there was some fish still actively feeding. Not feeding very well, but they were having a feed nonetheless in some not ideal conditions. So I guess the main thing that I want you guys to take away from this is when you're going out prospecting and checking out new water, is to make sure that you've got a couple of baits that you really know that you can catch fish on. For me, I search bait a lot with a crankbait. I follow it up with plastics to help slow down and pick apart structure, and then I'll rotate that between crabs as well. I fished a number of different colors today because the water was really dirty. Was throwing a motor oil, was throwing a midnight oil, was throwing black grubs, and a few other bits and pieces as well, just mixed in there to just to try something different. From my point of view, I really enjoyed that day. There was no monster fish caught, which doesn't really bother me when I'm going out exploring new water and checking out some new places. I fished it on dead low tide, which is always harder than Maribyrnong, but it's a really good way to understand how the river sets up, what sort of structures are in there, and what I'm looking for next time I go. So in 2 months' time, if we haven't had any rain at all, that salt water is going to push right up there, it's going to clear up, and I'm going to go and fish it all on a high tide, and I reckon there's going to be some really big fish on it. So that's how I approach my fishing, how I try and paint a bit of a picture, mark a lot of stuff on my sounder, and then I can go back when the conditions are right and really pick it apart and hopefully get some good fish. So I hope you guys can get something out of this video. In no means that I donged the really big ones today, but I've put a few things in the memory bank, and I'll definitely be back to check a few things when the water clears up during summer. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.